I'm Mikel.
Hello.
Only one place to start, really. Finally, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang has signed a new long-term contract with the club. How big of a news is it for you, and how much of a relief that you're no longer going to be asked about it every week?
Well, obviously, I know what was coming, so I was a little bit more relaxed. But I am really pleased to have convinced Oba to stay at our club, as well in the terms that we've done, and with the passion and determination that him and the people around him showed to stay at our club, how happy they are with what we have achieved, and as well really pleased to see the reaction of everybody, first of all here at Colney, at our club, and as well our fans to keep him.
We know just how good he is on the pitch, but how have you found working with him off the pitch? What sort of character is he in and around the squad, and what sort of captain is he to work with?
It's a joy to work with him. I think we have a really transparent relationship. We've been very clear with each other what we were trying to do, how big of a part he was in my plans for now and for the future, and the way he trains, the way he behaves himself, and the way he performs is exactly what I want from him. So I want him to do that again consistently in the next few years.
When you were coming into this summer, was this the one deal that you felt had to be done?
Yes, it took a lot of work and a big effort as well for the club. So thank you very much as well for supporting us, because it was key to achieve it. But yes, it was a thing that it was worrying me, because it's so hard to find replacement of strikers of that caliber. So I'm really pleased.
Thanks, Mikel.
Thank you.
Okay, now over to Sky Sports, Gary Cottrell.
Thanks for your time. Good afternoon. Can I just pick up a couple more on Aubameyang? We're hearing that one of the big reasons he was persuaded to stay was you. What role did you play in helping him make his mind up?
I think the big reason why Oba is staying is because we have an incredible football team, football club. We have some fantastic people working here, and because he feels as well how much love is got from the fans. I played my part, which is part of my job, to try to explain him what we are trying to do and how important he was going to be on what we are building, and that's it. But the club has to take credit for that, and the people that has been able to put a project and a package for him to stay at the club as well.
And you did that despite some big offers from some big clubs, Barcelona, Milan, for example.
Yes, but the size of our club is as big as of those names, and that's what I'm saying, that the most important thing is the football club, what we inspire, who we are as a club, and what we can achieve in the future as well, and how we can explain what we are trying to do to make sure that the players believe in our project.
In terms of your transfer business, do you now really, do you think, need to sell some players if you want to bring any more in? And I don't just mean because of the money spent, but because you've got an imbalance, maybe too many foreign over 25-year-olds?
Well, we are trying all the time to adjust the squad in the most efficient way. It's clear at the moment that it has to go both ways, and in order to achieve that, we still have some time, but we are pretty clear in what we are trying to do.
Can I ask you about one deal that does seem to be imminent, and that's your new keeper, Runarsson?
Yes, obviously with the departure of Emi, which is a big loss, and someone that I think we always in the best for what he's done for the football club and as well for the person that he is. We have to replace him, and we've been looking in the market, and I think we'll be short in a position to announce our new signing. That's
hours rather than days away, do you think?
Excuse me?
Is that hours away or rather than days away, that announcement?
I don't know. In football, the hours can become days, and something that looks unlucky can happen straight away. So unfortunately, I cannot tell you.
And do you need one keeper or two? So, for example, if Runarsson is confirmed, does that mean the David Raya situation is over?
Well, depending what's going to happen with our third goalkeeping position as well, because we have some talks about that in the last few months. So still the market is open and things can change.
Last one on transfers, I promise. But in terms of midfield, a couple of names getting the fans excited. Houssem Aouar and Thomas Partey. Can you tell us anything about Arsenal's interest in either of those?
Sorry, unfortunately, I cannot talk about players that they are not for our football club, but I appreciate the question.
Okay, thank you. Just coming towards the end, Mesut Ozil's been a bit of a social media hit this week with some of the performances he's put on the training ground. What can you tell us about the likelihood of his involvement in the coming games?
Well, I think they are all been training really, really well, and the spirit at the training ground is great, and I'm really happy because everybody is pushing each other. So let's try to maintain that.
And West Ham didn't have the best start to the Premier League campaign, but obviously London derby, always a threat.
Always a threat. We have a good example of the game we played against them last March, that it was really difficult. We managed to win the game, but we have a lot of problems. So we better be ready because, again, after a defeat is always even more dangerous.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. We'll move on to Premier League productions. Mark Scott.
Hi, Mikel. Just a quick one about quickly. We know that the fans were delighted that he's staying, but what kind of boost has it given you on the training ground with all the rest of the players, the fact that he's committed his future to the club?
Well, it was a big boost because I think everybody was hoping for Oba to stay, but it was creating some uncertainty around the place. And obviously it's great as well to be able to finish those sort of speculations, move on and find some more stability.
And you mentioned that Arsenal are just a bigger club as the others that were linked with him. What kind of statement does it send out as well to the rest of the sort of footballing world about Arsenal and their standing in the game?
I don't know. We made a decision because we believe he's the best for our football club. Not trying to send any statements, just trying to get the right decisions and the right people around us to be as successful as we can.
David Luiz could be available this weekend. How pleased are you with the competition for places all over the pitch for you?
Well, this is what we want to produce. Sometimes it's not easy for us managers to deal with that when you have only one game a week. But it's great to see, how the boys are training, competing with each other. But it's very important as well that whatever the decisions are, that they keep supporting each other and we are able to maintain a good but natural competition between them.
Can I just ask you as well, obviously a lot of impressive performances for you at Fulham, but as a former midfielder yourself, how pleased were you with Willian's display in that game?
Yeah, I think he was great. He was decisive. That's what we are looking for him to do in a consistent way. He's a player with tremendous quality that knows the league really well, and we knew that he wasn't going to need a lot of time to adapt to our way of playing.
And just finally, looking at the weekend results, given your performance at Fulham and West Ham's against Newcastle, people see you as big favourites for this game. What did you think of West Ham's display and the weaknesses that you can exploit?
Well, they have many strengths and some weaknesses like we all have. I know David, the manager, really, really well. I know what he's going to be trying to do tomorrow to hurt us as well. So again, it will be a tough game and I'm expecting a difficult battle tomorrow.
Thanks, Mikel.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. We'll move on to Ian Abrahams from TalkSport, please.
Hi, Mikel. How are you doing?
Hi, Ian.
I don't need to ask you any more about when Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is signing a new deal. You'll be very happy.
Can ask me every day if he's happy or not.
I'll ask you now, yeah. When he signed, he said that he wanted to become an Arsenal legend. Try to explain for us what he meant by that.
Well, I think he's done some great things since being here. Individually, obviously, some of the things that he has achieved in terms of goals, assists, has been incredible. Now we have to take it to the collective and we have to take it club level. In order to achieve that, there are a lot of small things that you have to do every day to achieve them. Oba is very aware of that, and we are able to take the person and the player into the next level. I think we all going to benefit from that. And the day that leaves this football club, I think it will be in a different way.
He's scored a lot of goals for you so far, but I mean, and you've obviously now won the FA Cups. That's one title that you've won under him. But in general, the number of goals he's scored so far haven't delivered things like the Premier League title or a Champions League spot. So how much do the rest of the players in the squad have to now follow his example, step up their game?
Yeah, but that's the next step. But now the goals that he has scored in the semi-final and the two finals are bringing titles to the club, which is something that is going to stay there and is going to stay in the history of the club. And now how much all of us, we have to push to support him and him to maintain and improve the level that he had, but not only scoring goals, but his in overall performance, whether it is in aspect related to our attacking phases or defensive phases, is going to make us better.
The game with West Ham, a rather poignant one for you because it was straight after the game back in March that you tested positive for coronavirus. Football as a whole was shut down, and we went into a national lockdown. Is it a little bit? Would you have a little bit of a thought of that in your mind?
Well, it was ages ago, but obviously when I started to look the game back and what we did, I think we were lucky that day to win the game. They created a lot of issues. We could not control certain important aspects of West Ham threats, and we have to be better tomorrow.
Finally, I'm going to ask you a question about a player that you don't have, but you will be seeing at some stage this season. I'm currently talking to you from outside Spurs training ground, where today they're going to be announcing that Gareth Bale is rejoining. What does that do for the Premier League, and what does that do for the competition in North London between Arsenal and Spurs?
Well, the Premier League in his history always had the best players in the world. I think Gareth has been one of the most significant names that left the Premier League years ago to join Spain. So I think it's always really positive to bring really important players back to the league, and it will be a challenge because we know at his best what he can deliver.
We'd have to work a little bit harder to make sure North London stays red and not white next season.
I think the competition from every club, the way they are recruiting and improving their squads is making this league harder and harder.
Thanks a lot, Mikel. Give my regards to Pierre.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ian. Move on to the BBC now. George Cummins.
Thanks, Dan. Mikel, one of your short-term goals would have been keeping Uber. So what is the long-term project for you at Arsenal? What do you want to do in the long term?
Well, you can have a lot of great thoughts about long-term in football, but the reality is that the daily decisions, results, and things that have happened that sometimes are out of your control as well determine a lot the future. What I find at the moment is that we are all on board from the top of the club with the ownership, with all the boards, with Edu, myself, and the staff around us of what we are trying to do. We are very united, and I feel we are in a strong position to move forward in the future. But again, our demands are tomorrow, today in training, and try to maintain and improve the team as much as we can, and create a sustainable model that brings success and brings joy and happiness to our fans.
You, with the players you brought in and the new contract, are you under pressure to probably let players go that you don't want to, and the ones that you want to sell you can't get rid of?
No, I think, again, with all the players that we have here, we're going to try to get the best out of them, try to improve them as much as possibly can, create the right environment for them so they are happy at the club, because I believe it's the most important thing for them to perform the level that we want. And after that, obviously in the markets, there are things that we cannot control, things that we can, and let's try to manage it the best possible way. And
Willian's a fantastic penalty taker. He rarely misses like Uber. So is Uber still your penalty taker, and who's going to be number one this season for you taking the penalties?
Yeah, Oba will start taking the penalties for now.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, George. Move over to Press Association with Mark Manbryans.
Hi, Mikel.
Hi.
You've opted to go with Bernd Leno as your first choice, and that's led obviously to Emi leaving the club this week. Has making that choice and then allowing Emi to leave been the hardest decision of your managerial career so far?
Well, there have been many challenges since I joined the club. Obviously, that one, it was tough. But before that, obviously, as you can imagine, there were some conversations in the background about things developing in one way. So I knew what was going to happen with Emi. I had many discussions with him. And I think we all finished in really good terms. And we decided that Ben was going to be the starter that day.
You've spoken really well and warmly about Emi's ability since he came into the team. So could you just explain what convinced you that Bernd was the long-term option?
Well, I was very clear with both of them that it wasn't a 1 and a 2, that they had to compete for the places like any other position in the team. And to be fair, Ben was superb before he got injured at Brighton. Emi was absolutely excellent with all the games that he played and how much he helped us as well win the trophies. But at the end of the day, that created a big competition, some big expectations from both of them. And we had to deal with that. And we were really open, trying to have those discussions. And at the end, yeah, Emi had a really good offer. He was very suited for what he wanted to achieve long term and short term, and we allowed him to leave the club.
Other players have started to be linked with moves away. I know Kolasinac close to a move back to Germany for family reasons. So is it hard to stand in a player's way when there are other aspects behind it wanting to leave the club?
Well, I think every case you have to try to take it individually. First of all, try to understand the reason, if that's the case, when they want to leave, why. If there are things that you can help them to change, to keep them, you have to try to maximize those options. And when it comes to a point where obviously something that you can control, you can help, and it's so evident and clear, then you open the door, but then it goes down to the club to decide, when and how. And that's a player with a contract that has to get the right value and to the right club.
Would you expect Sad to leave before the window closes?
At the moment, I'm not expecting anybody to leave very shortly. That's where I am.
Thanks, Miguel.
Thanks, Mark. Move to Nick Callow from Haters.
Hi, Mikel. No camera, you'd be delighted to hear. When a player like Oba signs a big new contract, how do you keep motivating him? I'm thinking historically when you had Mesut and maybe Theo Walcott at Arsenal played brilliantly, sign new deals, and then their form dropped off. How do you keep motivating them to keep improving?
Well, before motivating after they sign the contract, I try to do the opposite thing. I'd have to make sure that I can motivate them. In order to do that, I have to get to know the player really well and the people around him, what he needs in order to be as motivated and not with flat foot to try to improve. And as well, the player has to see that he has some room for improvement and that we are the right people for him to help him to achieve that. And to be fair, all those boxes were ticked with Oba. So I think we will be able to do that with him.
We mentioned David Luiz being fit again. Does he come straight back into the team? Do you anticipate making changes at the back?
David is training with us today again. He's feeling much better and he will be available for tomorrow.
Just finally, a question on a player who unfortunately won't be playing, an old teammate of yours, Jack Wilshere. There's some great footage of you celebrating that FA Cup final win with him at the parade. How do you feel about how Jack's career has gone since then and that he won't be featuring?
Sad, big shame. First of all, for Jack, who is as a person, I was going to say as a kid, because he was a kid when I played with him, but such a special character. And then with the talent, the ability and the personality he had on the pitch, he could have achieved much more, but the injuries have been really tough on him. But he's shown time and time again, after it doesn't matter how bad those look, that he always finds himself in a position to get back. So hopefully he can do that again. And I think not just me, but everybody here wishes him all the best.
So he's still in his 20s, isn't he? He could come back again, you hope?
I hope so. He's done it many, many times, and I hope that he can maintain mentally that strength and that willingness to still be as good as he can because he deserves that.
Okay, thanks. Best of luck for the weekend. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. Now, Charles Watts from Goal.com.
Mikel. Just one more on Emi. Obviously, it was a very tough decision, like you said. No manager wants to weaken a squad, but this decision, certainly for now anyway, looks like it has, weakened Arsenal's squad. Is that a sort of necessity, though, for you, as it will allow you further down the line potentially to bring in your targets like Arwa Party, or I'm not saying those names, but bring in your specific target? Was it a necessary evil?
Well, at the end of the day, we have to find some balance between what we want to achieve with the squad and our finances. And it gets to a point where you have to make a decision whether to achieve certain things, you have to sacrifice others. But time will tell whether we are weaker or not. Obviously, the recruitment that we are planning to do to try to get our second goalkeeper, hopefully is going to bring us a really good performance level, and we can see Emi as well being successful at Villa, and we are all happy.
Just on the sort of clash at Fulham between Danny and Eddie, you said you didn't see it at the weekend. I'm sure you've seen it now. What did you do with that afterwards? Did you have words with him? Did you find out what was going on?
Well, I was surprised first of all because it's not a common thing to see. At the start, to be fair, I didn't like too much in public that image. Then I understood what happened. I understood that how much both of them as well want to play and the level of frustration that they were managing. But I really like the way that things were resolved. First of all, between them personally, and then publicly with that picture. End of the story. Let's learn from that and move on.
Yeah, because Danny seemed pretty wound up. Was it purely a frustration at not starting the game?
You can see the way Danny came on the pitch. The same with Eddie. The last few minutes, how committed they were, how much they wanted to play. And this is, I cannot demand as well the players to be all the time 100% and pushing, but then to be soft and have a really bad body language like this doing the rondos. So if you give me the choice, I don't want them to kill each other, but yeah, it's okay. It's not bad.
Just on, obviously, Willian was very good last week. Pepe was on the bench. What does this kind of mean for Reiss at the moment? Because you kind of look at it and think maybe his opportunities are going to be limited. Is there a chance he might head out on loan before the window closes? Is that a possibility?
Well, I think they all realize the competition that we have in forward positions. Already spoke with Reiss about it. I really like the way he's training. I think we both agreed how much he's improved in the last few months. He's going to carry on pushing the rest of the team, and he needs to be ready, because in football, unfortunately, or fortunately, things don't take 3 months to change, but it takes 3 minutes, and you have to be ready when that opportunity comes in.
Yeah, because he's at that age where you kind of feel like he needs to be playing now to really progress where you'd want him to be.
I think if we ask any of those 26, 27 players if they need to play, they will say, yeah, of course, I need to play regularly, I need games, I need minutes. But at the moment, it's not possible, 1 game a week. And with this rule of just being able to have 18 players on the bench, it's very difficult to keep everybody with the same level of minutes, or impossible.
Thanks, Mikel.
Thanks, Charles. Over to James Ollie from ESPN.
Hi, Mikel. Sorry to ask you about Oba again, but I just wondered during because obviously it was a very long negotiating period. Was there ever a point during that period where you thought you'd lost him, that he was going to leave?
Well, to be fair, at the start when I joined, I wasn't as positive as I was the last few weeks. That's the truth. Obviously, financially, we were in a position that it was difficult to get where we wanted to get. I think Oba had his doubts as well at the time, but things evolved in a natural way. I had the feeling that the club wanted to move forward. I had the feeling that Oba wanted to stay here, and we were just trying to glide those things together, and that sometimes takes time. But if the outcome is what we both wanted, then we are happy.
And do you think the fact that he has signed a new deal will make it easier for you to attract new players, that they'll want to play with someone like him?
I don't know. Certainly, I think it's a decision that is being taken in a really positive way outside the football club, and with a very clear direction that we want to maintain and keep and look after our better players, as well as we want to promote, challenge, and improve our young players. And this is where we are.
Because obviously there was a bit of negativity around the club in terms of the pay cut and and all those sorts of things that go on. But the fact that you're able to give a big contract to a big player at 31 says a lot to other potential signings that Arsenal are serious about getting back in the Champions League, serious about taking themselves to the next level, I guess.
Yeah, we have to do some structural remodeling. We could not maintain the size of the club that we had with what happened the last 3 years, with what happened with the coronavirus. But we cannot forget that we are Arsenal Football Club. Our history demands success and excellence. And in order to achieve that, what is within our structure, whether it is our people, our staff, or our players, we have to maintain the quality as high as possible in order to provide the best possible chance to be successful.
Okay, thanks, James.
Thank you.
Thanks. Everything there was embargoed until 1 o'clock. So we now move on to a 10:30 tonight embargo. So we'll kick off with Adrian Kajumba from the Daily Mail.
Hi, Mikel. How you doing?
Hi.
And hopefully you're not bored of talking about OBX. I've got a few more. You're just speaking there about the process that you went through to try and persuade him. What was the actual point where you realised it had gone from that situation you were maybe worried about to thinking this is more positive, he's going to stay? Did you kind of remember when it was and how that kind of happened?
Yes, it was a conversation that I had with Oba first privately, and then with his father and his agent. And sometimes it's incredible how necessary these conversations are to try to understand each other's position, and what happened in the past, things that have annoyed people, things that actually make people feel important and part of the process. So I think after those two conversations, I thought that we had a really good chance, because I felt a really good connection between us and a strong feeling that they wanted to continue with us.
Can you, I don't know as much as you're able to say, obviously you came in December and towards the end of the season, your confidence, when you were being asked about Aubameyang, you seemed fairly confident. So when were those sort of conversations? When did it change for you roughly?
I think those happened during the COVID period. And then we started to have some conversations internally between his representative and the club. And things were evolving positively, It was taking time, obviously, because it was a big thing for the club and for Oba and his environment. But again, we are really glad that we reached agreement.
In terms of the significance of him staying, obviously the club have lost big players in the past when their contracts have been running down and they've chosen to move on. Is there a significance there in that context in keeping Aubameyang, that when his contract was running down and the club needed to pull something out to keep him, you managed to do it this time? And is that an important message that's been sent out, whether it's to other clubs, to other players, that you've got a project?
Well, I think it was a really important thing for us, certainly, to try to do it. That's where we push as hard as we could to get it done. But I think every player situation or what happened in the past is probably very different to what we had today. But we just try to manage in the best possible way to achieve what we wanted.
You, your role was obviously very important, which you've spoken about, and some of the other players as well that have committed have spoken about your role in persuading them to stay. When you go into sort of effectively bat for the club, really, you're making a pitch to these players, and it comes out the way you want. Is that must be very satisfying and almost feel like vindication for you that you're selling the club to these players and they're agreeing to stay?
From my side, I can just show them my conviction of what we are trying to do, explain them why, show them the processes that are taking in place in order to achieve that. And after that, try to transmit it the best possible way so the player feels exactly what I do. And then there are other big parts, for example, the part of Edu on executing all this is massive. The same with Vinay, the board, the people are related to us, and of course the ownership that at the end of the day have to support our decisions, and they've been top.
And just lastly, what Oba was saying about leaving a legacy and becoming a legend, I imagine that's sort of exactly the sort of thing you want to hear. Are you fairly similar? Do you have those sort of high goals and aspirations in terms of what you want to achieve yourself as manager?
For myself,
yeah,
I just want to do the best possible job to get this club winning titles as frequently as we can, transmitting the values that we believe are right for the football club, creating a very clear identity, and a very sustainable model. So this can be sustained with or without me for many years as well. And players really feel attached to what this club means to our people.
Thanks very much, Mikel. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adrian. Over to Nick Ames from The Guardian.
Hi, Mikel.
Hi.
Going back to what Adrian asked you about persuading players to stay and communicating and having those conversations, how is that aspect of management maybe more important these days than it was before? Maybe when you were a player, is it important to sell the club and even maybe sell yourself to the individuals when you're having those chats?
Yeah, certainly in this period when the market is open, but yes, and obviously when you have some difficulties financially or restrictions, I would say, with what you can and cannot do, obviously it becomes crucial, you know, that you are able to keep the core and the players that you believe are vital for the success of the project. But then is the people. I think I don't feel in a position, honestly, that I have to convince them. You know, we have more than enough at this club that people really want to stay here. Sometimes what you have to be able to explain is what you want to do with everything that we have, the direction we are taking, and who they are in this part of the puzzle, how important they are for them to try to execute it.
Sure. Just moving on to the goalkeeping situation, the two players who you've been very strongly linked with, Luiz and Wright, have both worked, of course, with Inaki Kana before at Brentford and Nordsjælland in Denmark. We don't have to go into those individuals, but how important is Inaki in this process of deciding who your next goalkeepers are going to be?
Yeah, I think it gets down to what I expect from my staff. At the end of the day, I bring a staff with very special qualities to add to what we are trying to do. And then I have to give them responsibility, because I want them accountable for the tasks that I give to them and the clear roles that I give to them. And obviously when it comes down to the goalkeeper, he has a big say on how we're going to implement our methodology, how we're going to train them, how we're going to treat the goalkeeping position, short term, medium and long term. And obviously at the end, it will be me who makes the decision, but it's very important the people around me who has in many occasions much clearer criteria and specificity than me, that I really listen to them and try to follow what their feelings are.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it even more important in the case of a goalkeeper that maybe you take the coach's recommendation, because it is such a specialist position?
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a big faith in Iñaki, as I do with the rest of the staff that are here. But I would take that into the medical department, whether it's the physio, the kit man, traveling, any department that is here. You know, they have much more expertise than me. I want to control them. I want to make sure that they share the values and direction that we want to take. But at the end of the day, they have to, most of the time, execute the actions.